After tonight, we're set to find out how Gene Takavic's decision to break bad will affect him and whether or not he will ever be able to reunite with Kim, his wife from another life. Francesca claims that Kim phoned his office after learning of his extensive illegal activity, and there's no denying that the two are emotionally drawn to one another despite their terrible separation approximately 6 years ago. Let's cut to the chase and enjoy what we have left of the show while we can. Here is the penultimate episode of Better Call Saul, written and directed by none other than legendary series co-creator Vince Gilligan, titled Waterworks. In the office of Saul Goodman, where the U.S. Constitution serves as his wallpaper, Saul plays wall ball with it, knocking down one of the pillars in the process. Francesca calls him in the main office from a distance of a few feet away, venting her irritation, especially given the several clients who are waiting for him, but he doesn't seem bothered. He hangs off the phone and returns to his desk, where he opens an envelope carrying paperwork for his divorce from Kim. "What are you waiting for?" he tells Francesca on Bluetooth headset. "Send her in." Back in the future, aka present, or around 2010, an older Kim who has longer darker hair, perhaps a wig, prepares dinner with a new male living partner. They are debating whether to use Miracle Whip instead of mayonnaise for a dinner party with their pals. Later that evening, the new happy couple indulge in some intimate interactions, though the new Mr. Kim doesn't sound as though he's having fun despite his frequent affirmations of yup. Later, she puts together what appears to be a blank puzzle as he watches TV. We follow Kim as she embarks on an exciting new chapter of her life at Palm Coast Sprinkling in Florida, where she gets to put her law degree to good use by creating captivating descriptions for the sprinkler's component parts. She receives a call from a Victor St. Clair when she is at work one day, and she seems to know who it is right away. We might be beginning to see the other side of the silent phone conversation from last week at this point. Kim ultimately takes up the phone after much deliberation as she isolates herself in her office, shutting the door and drawing the blinds. Jimmy strikes up a casual conversation with her, emphasizing his wish to catch up as well as his surprise at how long it has been since they last saw each other, 6 years. Additionally, he wants to let her know that he is still alive and getting away with it. Jimmy begs her to speak when she is at a loss for words. She finally spits it out, saying, "You should give yourself in. I have no idea what kind of life you have been leading, but it can't be very much." She is forced to hang up the phone after Jimmy angrily flips the script on her and says, "I'm delighted you're alive." Soon later, she is led into the hallway to attend a birthday celebration for one of her coworkers. Happy birthday is sung by all, but Kim is obviously not in the mood. Kim is waiting for a shuttle at the Albuquerque airport, where she has apparently arrived back home, right next to the Alaska Airlines terminal, a subtle reference to our good friend Jesse Pinkman. She chooses to go back to the courthouse of all places. She arrives at an elevator, but we are interrupted before we can follow her. Kim then makes her way to Cheryl, the late Howard's widow, where she hands her a handwritten manifesto that essentially outlines the entire season 6 storyline. Cheryl finds it hard to breathe after learning of Howard's passing. Kim stutters and tries to remain composed. When she asserts that Howard didn't suffer, Cheryl contradicts her with what she actually did. The lies she and Jimmy made up about him all but destroyed his life. That's all he is now, she says, basically confirming exactly what she and Jimmy feared after Lalo executed him. That's all anybody remembers. She inquires as to whether Kim will face legal action, and Kim replies that the affidavit was delivered to the district attorney, but she is unsure what she will do with it, given the lack of tangible evidence. Cheryl inquires as to Kim's motivation, but she is unable to provide one. While on the bus home, Kim breaks down in tears. Finally, we're continuing from the end of episode 11, where Jimmy broke into the home of his cancer victim. Jimmy strangely walks over to the piano and plays a high note, presumably to see how potent these barbiturates are after seeing him unconscious on the floor. Then he photographs pictures of the bank statements as instructed, but when he goes to hunt for passwords, he only accidentally discovers them on the bottom of the lamp base. The plan appears to go through without a hitch, but Jimmy makes a stroll upstairs to look at some of the man's other trinkets, including some posh cigars and watches, before he rides back to Jeff in his taxi outside. But the sufferer is starting to awaken. Jimmy detects his absence when he glances down from the landing above, but he is unable to leave the house undetected. Meanwhile, a police car is coming up behind Jeff's taxi outside. Jimmy then makes the decision to sneak up on him with a vase in an attempt to knock him out once more, but he is unsuccessful since he passes out on his phone before he can. He tries to sneak outdoors, but the police cruiser stops him. In a fit of terror, Jeff tries to flee but crashes into a van across the street because he isn't even slightly on the radar of the two police officers following him. Naturally, the police approach him. He's in custody. Jimmy, though, succeeds in getting away. Kim, who has not yet grown or darkened her hair, and Jimmy signed the divorce papers without incident during the events of Breaking Bad, with Jimmy reportedly even being distracted by his telephone. When Jimmy urges Kim to have a wonderful life and sends her on her way, Kim is so speechless that she is almost moved to tears. A young Jesse Pinkman approaches Kim for a bump as he waits outside the office in the pouring rain while she lights a cigarette outside under the awning. Then Jesse informs her that he recognizes her because she once stood in for his friend Combo. Kim tells him, "Tell him I hope he's keeping his nose clean." Evidently, this is close to the beginning of bad, as Jesse asks Kim for advice on whether Saul is the real deal because he hasn't yet decided whether to select him to defend him and Badger. Kim can only respond that when I knew him, he was before booking it to her car underneath the rain.